Today on Rescue Vet, an arthritic 10-year-old Argentine mare is suffering from joint pain. Will Dr. Berger's alternative healing process be able to save this majestic horse from being put down? Or is her condition too severe?
I have had to put horses down because of pain, and it's like putting a child down.
A diabetic 12-year-old Chihuahua pug mix with a leg injury has been taken to the hospital for surgery. But if the procedure is too risky, the owner may be left with one option.
Money's tight right now. The risk involved in the surgery is something we have to think about as well.
Today, Dr. Berger is visiting one of his longtime clients, Rose Cease.
I've been taking care of Rose's horses off and on for about 15 years.
I met him when my equine vet, who was probably one of the top vets in the country, retired, and Dr. Berger was his hand-picked protege.
Rose owns and boards several horses at Boone Hall Plantation in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Many of the horses also compete in polo.
Polo in South Carolina is actually a huge entity, and the horses add a lot of ambiance to our guest experience. They are quite the spoiled princesses.
Rose noticed that one of her newer horses, Capricciosa, has developed a problem with her gait, which has prevented her from playing polo.
We knew we had some issues that need to be resolved before she was going to be happy and playing well. They're telling you that they're in pain. You just have to listen to them.
Today we came out to this farm to look at Capricciosa. She's about 10 years old and is suffering some severe arthritis in her back end.
Typically, horses are treated with medication and steroids for joint pain. But that is not a cure and can often lead to more problems.
Steroid injections are a quick fix, but eventually the steroids will disintegrate the integrity of the joint, so you actually end up with a worse joint than when you started.
There's a couple of really bad things that can happen. First, infections from injecting the joints can get systemic, and there's no treatment for that. I mean, they have to be put down. You know, all the medications can cause ulceration in the intestinal tract and lead to such intense pain that the horse rolls, twists its abdomen, and then you end up having to do, you know, an $8,000 to $10,000 surgery, which has a low probability of success.
Dr. Berger will examine Capricciosa by applying pressure to her back to see where she is experiencing the most pain.
First thing we're going to do is palpate her back and see if she has a response, which she puts her ears back and looks at me like she wants to bite me.
Running his hand over the horse, he could feel the energy and he could feel what that horse was going to let him do and how to gain that horse's trust.
Flickering the tail, putting her ears back, looking around. That definitely hurts. Now I'm barely touching her.
Yeah.
I couldn't break an egg.
Yeah, she's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When we touch this mare's back, she practically wants to drop to the ground because it's so painful. So for us to just be able to, with our little hands, be able to bring a horse to its knees with pain, obviously indicates that there's something severe going on.
Dr. Berger stretches Capricciosa's legs and applies pressure to the joints to test her reaction once again.
Check these lower joints and upper joints.
You can see when I flex this front leg that she reacts. She doesn't like it.
Check this leg. Check her shoulder.
There's joint fluid that's building up in that area. And that's an indication of some chronic severe arthritis.
So I'm gonna hold this for a little bit. Try to.
Oh, she's definitely laying her ears back on that one.
It just doesn't like that.
if a horse is in pain and stumbles and comes on top of you, I mean, it can even be a life-threatening situation. So it's not just that you don't want to see them in pain, but it's actually, a personal safety issue. So it's really, really important that they're happy, that they're healthy, that they're pain-free.
So she's getting a little shy from me poking her. Scoot over, babe. Good girl. It's all right. It's okay. So all in all, I think that mainly her issues are more in her back than anything. So we'll flex her out, and then we'll jog her off and see how she does. When we jog her off, she doesn't want to move. And that's an indication of pain. And not just mild pain, but pretty severe pain. Not really wanting to do a whole lot. Good. So you saw it took 5 steps before she wanted to do anything. I mean, horses are majestic animals. Seeing them in pain, seeing them suffering, it's a really hard thing to see.
There are some cases when you do what's right for the animal. And if your animal's in pain, you have a decision as an owner. And I have had to put horses down because of pain. And it's like putting a child down, or your animal, your dog. You have to do what's right for the animal.
Matt Hall from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, has brought his 12-year-old Chihuahua Pug mix Jack to veterinary specialty care because of a leg injury.
He was coming up the steps in the backyard and just stepped wrong and tore something in his knee. And he started squealing pretty good and then won't use the leg anymore.
Jack's regular veterinarian was able to see him after the incident, but was unable to treat the injury.
She noticed that the kneecap was out of place and that the knee was really loose, so she suspected a tear in the knee and said we need to just get straight over here because it wasn't something they were able to fix at their facility.
Jack is taken to radiology to find out how severe the injury is. Dr. Bianucci has reviewed Jack's x-rays and must decide what the best procedure is for Jack.
Basically, the alignment issue there is it's that this little bone right here, which is the kneecap or the patella, it acts as the gliding surface for the quadriceps, okay? So when you have to bear weight, you flex your quadriceps, and that's how you straighten your leg. Over the years, this thing has been popping out and internally rotating this leg. And so over time, it accelerates the wear on the cruciate ligament, and that's why that tore. So now we have 2 problems on the same leg. The torn cruciate ligament and the patellar luxation.
There are 2 different ways to operate on Jack's knee that will fix both of his knee issues. The newer technique, called a TTA procedure, costs more, but the recovery time is faster. The older technique, called a fibular head transposition, is usually just as effective and costs less, but recovery time can take longer. Because of his small size, it will also be a challenge to fit a plate on his knee.
What we do, oh buddy, it's okay.
Aside from the fact that Jack is 12 years old, he is also diabetic. The combination of his age and health issues can create huge risks during and after surgery.
Diabetes does predispose to wound infections, and they can have slower wound healing. So those are some of the issues that you deal with. The cost of doing the newer technique is more than the older technique. I think the benefit to it is that they feel better much sooner and they heal in about half the time. As far as long-term function, still a little bit up in the air, as to whether they actually do better with that newer technique. In my experience, they seem to. Okay, they seem to be doing better with the newer one.
I'm most concerned about not being able to afford the surgery. It's a lot of money. Money's tight right now. And he is a 12-year-old dog, so the risk involved in the surgery is something we have to think about as well.
Matt will have to make a tough decision and figure out which option is best for Jack. There are many life-threatening risks involved in surgery, but without a working leg at such an old age, Jack may have to be put to sleep.